So I just have a random old video playing in the background, but um, I wanted to talk about how I feel like my progress has been going and what I expect as the series goes along. So maybe one of the biggest things is that I didn't expect to improve very quickly just because it's very difficult. So I don't think I'm really doing anything wrong. I don't think it's like I need to learn a better way to improve or anything like that. It's just so difficult to get better. So in the past I've compared it to how I imagine like improving at chess would be like trying to get to grandmaster level in chess or something like that, where it's like even if you spend a whole bunch of time and it's like almost expected that you would pay to have a tutor help you, and you could have a really good tutor or a really good coach, and you could practice all the time, and you still might not make it a grandmaster. It's like that hard. And I really think Puyo is a lot like that too, where it's like it's just so difficult. So, in fact, one of the things I would say I want people to be able to see as this series goes along is that this is something that's a really difficult thing to accomplish. And so I hope people don't feel bad about themselves if they like try to get better at the game and they don't really improve that much, or like it feels too hard, because that's just kind of how it is. Like really. So I hope other people can kind of watch and follow my progress and see like this is what I expect, at least, where it's like I'm gonna play a lot, I'm gonna practice seriously, but I might not improve very quickly just because it's difficult. And that's kind of like all there is to it. It's just really hard to get better. It's not. So I do think there are things you can do that like help you to improve faster, but the thing is that like faster in this case doesn't mean fast. It's like you can improve faster. Like faster is kind of like improving at all, where it's like if you don't practice the right things, you might just never get better. But if you practice well and practice efficiently, you'll get better, but it's still going to take a long time. So, so that's my expectation for how things will go. So, as for how it's gone currently, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. It's like maybe a little bit better than I expected, but the thing is, I practiced about this hard. So when there's the top class international league, I practiced about this hard, maybe even more. But I would say it was pretty much the same, at least close to this level of practice. And also, well, I guess I'll mention it after, but I practiced really hard for the top class international league, and for a moment, it felt like I was playing really good. I was like, I was like beating everyone that I usually lose to. I was doing things that I usually can't do, and it just felt really good. It's like, man, I'm improving so much so fast. And then all of a sudden, it was like I just magically it all vanished at once, and I like lost it all. So like I probably said it somewhere else before, but it was like a month before the start of the league. I was like, it felt like I was playing the best I've ever played, and then I kept practicing because I wanted to make sure I, you know, didn't get worse and hopefully got even better. But even though I did that, it like didn't really. It suddenly felt like I was just playing worse and worse and worse and worse until the time for the league actually came, and then I just like felt like I wasn't playing well anymore, which is like the exact opposite of what you want to happen. I wanted to show good results. I wanted to show what I felt like was my best play, and it felt like it was my worst play. Like I I did everything wrong. I like messed everything up. made a lot of mistakes in every match. That's what it felt like. But um, so basically, that's where I was coming into this. So it's like I practiced really hard for that, and then it felt like I got worse, and then, um, and then and then after that, because I thought, well, maybe I'm just like practicing too much, so then I purposely just stopped practicing for during the time of the league just to see, is it like, well, if I stop practicing, am I gonna do better? Because I'm not doing very well, even though I'm practicing a lot. So then I like didn't practice at all, and I didn't do better still. So it was like, well, I mean, I don't know. So this time I was going into it saying like, well, if I feel like that happens again, then it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna like keep playing through it. I'm just gonna keep practicing. I'm just gonna hope I just start doing better. So um, that's what I'm gonna do. And recently, it's kind of felt like I've all of a sudden been going on a downswing a little bit, but some of the stuff that I've figured out, I think, is really helping me. And I'm still like staying pretty strong. I'm not like I don't feel like I'm dropping as much as I did the other time. So that's why I feel like it's going pretty well currently. And the thing I wanted to say was that if the only practice I did was what I did for the daily sessions, I don't think it would be a very good way to try and improve at the game because I wouldn't be learning much new stuff. So it's kind of hard to improve. So I actually do a good amount of practice off stream and off, like, not recorded, where I try to like learn new stuff, try and figure out things that I think I'm doing wrong and different things that I should do to improve. So just so you know, if you're like following the series, I'm also practicing a good amount off stream because I feel like I said, if the only thing I did was the stuff that I do in the daily sessions, I don't think it's a very good way to improve at the game. Like I'm trying to do the daily sessions to have something that people can watch and that and also I can look back at it to see like, okay, what was I doing in the past? Like how often did I do certain things and what was working, what wasn't working and all of that. So it's so that I can see things like that and people following along can also see those kinds of things as well. So um, that's the idea behind doing like the daily sessions, and then hopefully I can like see progress. Like I don't expect to see big like fast progress or big jumps at all, but I'm expecting like in the long term, like this video was like from about a month ago, and it's like at that time I was around maybe around 3,000 level. I wasn't like that much. I wasn't really like a lot of times I was just hanging around 3,000 level, and um, and then it's like 3,050 or so, and then recently it's more like I'm hanging around 3,100 levels sometimes, and I can climb up to 3,150 a lot easier. It's not like at the start of the series, it was like I can barely make it to 3,100. I have to kind of get lucky. Now it's like I can probably make it to 3,200 if I get lucky. But even if I don't, I'll probably be hanging around 3,100 unless I get unlucky. So I think it's a good thing to talk about the rating too, because um, so one of the a strong Japanese player said that they think it's pretty normal to see like plus or minus 100 or 150 in your rating. Like that's not concerning. That's pretty normal. So if you're like following along with the series, that's something that you should understand is that um, for just the day by day fluctuation is all going to be like, it can be pretty large. So I might go down 100 points or 200 points in a single day, and that's not too shocking. It's like I think part of it is just sometimes there's so much that you have to think about and process, and you just have days where you're not processing it all as well as you do on other days. And then your actual play level goes down a lot. And not only that, sometimes it's just like some of it is with the rating system itself, where it's like you might get matched with people who are underrated or overrated. You might get bonus points, or you might like. There's a lot of things like that where it's like you might play people who you just have a bad matchup against, so you lose a lot of points that day. But there's a lot of factors outside of your control too that can really affect your rating. So I wouldn't worry too much about the rating fluctuation day by day, because it's probably going to go up and down a lot. So don't worry too much if it's like going down a lot, as long as it comes up eventually. So that's how I'm looking at it too. It's like it's going to go up and down. But it's more about looking at the long-term trend, like in the long term, does it feel like my average is going up? Like like I said, recently it feels like it's gone up quite a bit. Now it feels like my average is probably low 3100s. But again, you can go plus or minus 200, plus or minus like 150, and that's pretty normal. So like that's gonna happen. You're gonna see me go down. Like if my true average is around 3150 or 3125, I'm still probably gonna fall down to 3000 every now and then. But you should see me go up to like 3200 or higher every now and then as well, if that's my true like average rating. So hopefully, so I'm really going to be looking more at the long-term trends, and hopefully it's going up in the long term. But again, like I said, I practiced a lot for the top class international league, and it didn't really. At some point, it felt like I stopped improving. So there's a chance that that's going to happen during this series too. But that's another thing that I kind of want to emphasize, is that improvement isn't always just like a straight line up, and that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong or like you're going about it the wrong way. It's just difficult to improve at things, especially when you're trying to get to like a really high level, like best in the world. It just becomes very hard to keep improving. So it's natural to like sometimes go back down, sometimes like not be able to keep making progress. And those things aren't things to be concerned about. So um, again, I just worry like if you're not really used to competing at this kind of level in things, it's easy to get discouraged when you start seeing the results go bad or something like that. But that's really just a normal part of like trying to get better at something that's really difficult. So don't worry too much about me if I start going down a bit every now and then. And don't worry too much about yourself if that happens to you when you're trying to get better. It's something where it's like, it's almost like I would say it's almost expected to happen, even if you're doing a good job of like uh, going about improving. Like you're doing, you have a good method for like improving. You're still probably gonna have those like have fluctuations and go down every now and then. So, uh, so like I said, overall, I think I'm improving pretty well. I think I've figured out what it was that um, was kind of making me do worse recently, and maybe kind of held me back during the top class international league time. So, just to say it more clearly, I feel like when I was, so I feel like um, sometimes because of how I practice, I like kind of stop focusing as much on the next piece. And I think um, when I really was playing well, I was doing a really good job of adjusting the current piece based on what the next piece is. And then when I start to play poorly, I like focus only on where the current piece should go, and I stop like looking at the next piece, and um, and then I start making like all my decisions based on just the current piece, and I'm like, where should this current piece go? And um, so what I've been trying to practice recently is just adjusting the current piece based on the next piece, like um, whenever it's beneficial to do that. Hey, I filled up in this. I don't think I even noticed, but I'm watching this play in the background and I just filled up there. But anyway, I've been trying to practice adjusting, like paying attention to the next piece as I'm placing the current piece, and then trying to decide if I think I should adjust where the current piece goes based on what the next piece is. And that's really tough to do in game because you have to be able to really quickly decide where you want the current piece to go, and then really quickly decide where you want the next piece to go, and then decide if the next piece is should go where you wanted to put the current piece. Then you have to really quickly decide where to put the current piece, like in before, like where to adjust it to. So like what change to make. And I'm saying current and next, but it's kind of like next and next because it's more like you're deciding where to put the, like you already know where you're going to put your current piece, you're already placing it, and then you're deciding where to put the next piece, and then you're looking at the next piece, and then trying to decide if you should adjust where you're going to place your next piece based on what the next piece is. And then you make your decision, and then you place it as the current piece, and then the piece that used to be the next piece is now the next piece, and then you decide, and you already made a decision where you think that should go, but you decide if you think you should change that based on like when the next piece comes into view. So it's something that I'm sure I've explained before, and it's something that I've known about, but I guess I kind of didn't really know how important it was and how often it was where it's like I kind of just can stop doing that and then focus too much on like only the current piece. So a lot of times when I'm like looking at a situation, I'll try to figure out where should I put this current piece, and then I'll spend a lot of time thinking about like where should this current piece go, but then I don't um, realize that a lot of times in order to make a better decision, look you had to see that piece coming and then adjust the previous piece to make space for the the piece the next piece. Or I'm not sure if I'm mixing up like current and next and previous and all of that, but you probably understand the idea. So that's why I think was kind of really holding me back, and it might be the trap that I fall into sometimes where I stop looking at the next piece so much. And now that I've been practicing that a lot more recently, I feel like I've been um, going back to improving. I've been doing a lot better, and so I expect to run into a lot of things like that as the series goes along, where it's like it might be something else another time, and there's just going to be a lot of things that I have to try and figure out, and I'm gonna hopefully I can do it. I actually believe in myself in that area, so I'm not too concerned about like trying to figure out new stuff and new ideas. It's just taking the time to like master all of them is just so difficult. So so I keep saying it, but I want everyone to understand it's like people who are really good at this game or like really good at this game, they've probably put a lot of time into it, and even though they've and it's probably taken them a lot of time to improve because it's just not an easy thing to do. So don't misunderstand that. Don't feel bad if you spend a lot of time and don't get that much better. That's pretty normal. And again, if you're following along with this series, I'm not too worried if I like go down every now and then. That's pretty normal. It's it's not too concerning. So that's about what I feel like my expectations are for this series. And like I said, I feel like I've been doing pretty well so far, and we'll see how things go in the future.